Okay, welcome everybody to this evening's XAUUSD Securities webinar. My name is Duncan Cooper. So tonight's webinar is Live Forex Market Review. So let's get into that. Everybody, please read through the disclaimer. Now, if you're on our YouTube live stream, I cannot see the chat, but you're more than welcome to watch or join us in the webinar. I've given you the link there in the chat. For those in the webinar, I've got the webinar chat box open and the question and answer box open. So either one of those will work if you have a question. So before we move along, you can just take the time to read through the disclaimer and we'll get into it. All right, we'll move along. Just looking on the list of attendees tonight. If you're new, welcome. And my name is Duncan Cooper. I'm the Senior Market Strategist and Trading Mentor here at XAUUSD Securities. And I'm a full-time Forex trader. I've been trading now for more than 15 years and mentoring for more than 10. If you have any questions that you want to email me, my email is there, duncan.cooper@acy.com. Through the week, you can connect with me on our website. Go to acy.com, go to the Market News tab, or the YouTube channel, XAUUSD Securities Australia. And through the week on my Twitter and LinkedIn, I'm putting some content through there. So if you want to access that, just take a note and follow me through the week. As well, through the week, we have our Telegram channel. If you want to get access to that, then just contact Nathan. And if you want to get access to my chart layouts and templates, ones I'm using in the webinar for MT4, just contact Nathan too. So I'll put his details in the chat. There we go. So if you need help with a demo account, if you're thinking about setting up a live account, just contact Nathan. He'll be able to help you out with anything. All right, let's get into tonight's webinar. First up, we'll have a look at what news items are coming out for the day. Just bear with me one moment. Just making sure my screen share is working properly. All right, so news items. So for the last 24 hours, from midnight this morning, we had the interest rate decision from Canada, and that came in as expected. No change there. US ISM Services PMI data came out higher than expected. More US dollar strength at the moment. Coming up today, we've got unemployment claims at 10:30 p.m. That can affect the market for sure. And then tomorrow, early morning, Bank of Canada Governor Macklem speaks, and we've got unemployment figures and rates change from Canada at 10:30 p.m. tomorrow evening. And in the morning of Saturday, when the markets close, China's releasing their CPI data. So can't trade that, but it maybe affects some pairs on the opening on Sunday, Monday, depending on where you are in the world. All right, so just take note of those items. Of course, we've got the US unemployment claims coming out at 10:30. That can definitely drive the market. All right, with all that in mind, let's get to the charts. Let's just start with the dollar index. And this is how I was drawing things on Tuesday, but we're not pulling back at the moment. We're just continuing up. We are rather high up here in terms of swung up. So I'm expecting we may well have a pullback, but we have for 2 days now. So the weekly chart, we've traded and closed above this top. I suspect we're heading towards the next top. That's a monthly top at 105.87. All right. We haven't had a negative week in 2, 4, 6 in, well, this week hasn't finished yet, but last 7 weeks, positive close every week. We had a down week finishing on a positive close. So that may be the most of a decline that we can get at the moment before further continuation up. And it's worth noting that I do this for the monthly candles and the weekly candles, but the yearly candle, just want to work out where the low of last year was, which was here. That's the range of last year. So we've really gotten support potentially within the 62 to 79% area of the fib of the range of last year. And really, we could be moving all the way up throughout the rest of the year to challenge the high of last year. Now, we may get a pullback, I am sure, at some point. This is the biggest move up we've had all year. That's the high of the year. So the year started around about here, but late into last year, moving up to February here. This move up is a lot longer than the last move up. So things are potentially changing here. So all trends are up at the moment there, especially on the weekly and day charts. The only consideration on the monthly chart is we do have a lower top here. And that's the weekly top I was discussing that we're probably heading towards the challenge. Okay, so at the moment, weekly day charts are all up. So with that in mind, maybe looking for a little bit of a correction on this. It's a little bit overextended in the short term, but trends remain up. S&P 500, where I got my fib drawn in here. There's a couple of 79% levels in here. One of this range, which we didn't quite get to, and the larger 79% fib from that high to low. All right, so looks like we might be putting in a lower top here. We'll have to wait and see what next week brings, how this week finishes, what next week brings. We could be forming a lower top here on the weekly chart. That would, you know, potentially as I was saying, this could be a down move filling at the 79% level. This has been corrective to put in a lower top on the weekly chart to move down this way. All right. So if you're wanting to trade this at the moment, you know, you could be dropping down to the 4-hour chart and monitoring for a pullback. There's a downtrend in the 4-hour chart. Just look for a rally back up to 62. 79 is a better level because if you look left, you've got these old support levels to the left. Yeah, will offer you a rally or a move, continued decline that we've been having this week. This is obviously declined down here to fill this imbalance here. All right, so there's a little bit of imbalance formed here that needs to be filled back to the upside. So 62 levels at 44.88, up to 79% level at 4,500. That area could well be sought out before some more selling comes in on that. All right, that's my thoughts there on the S&P 500. Let's drop into the Eurodollar. Continuing moving down this week. Now, the key level to watch at the moment is 107.65 that we've moved through. That's actually last month's low. Can we simply rally back up to that level? So can we, I can get my right drawing tool on here. Can we move up to this level, hold to continue the decline over the next week? That's what I'm, you know, if you're not already short, you don't want to be shorting at the bottom of this move. This is now 1, 2 inside day 3, 4, 5 days down. Maybe going to have a 6-day down depending on what the market wants to do today. So really you want to be looking for some form of rally. 107.65 is the key level where we were holding and then broke. So anybody that was here buying and they haven't gotten out of their bought position will want to get out of their bought position if it comes back up to 107.65, then forming resistance. So I've just been monitoring the 4-hour chart at the moment, which is a little bit choppy in here. So I just want to go back to the daily. I just want to know where the high of the week is at the moment, which is there. And then draw a fib across that range. All right. And then monitor a pullback within that range. The 62% level overlaps perfectly with the broken monthly support level, 107.65. So doing a bit of support and resistance work, doing a bit of fib work there, that becomes the most obvious level to look for. If we can rally back up to that level, can it hold there and turn over All right, might go up a little bit higher to the 79% level because there's a little bit of imbalance in here. So we can review this next week, but this little area here of imbalance could well need to just be filled. So it's worth just monitoring that area. You know, clearly the trend's down, but you don't want to be selling the bottom of the current move. Look for some kind of correction. That would be the most perfect area to watch for potential failure. Euro yen, not much changed. It's rather flat and range bound. It keeps dipping below. I'm going to have to tidy some things off here. This is the day chart, but keeps dipping below this area of potential support or resistance here. This is the weekly area at 157.99. So keep dipping below. We're pretty much trading at that price right now. Is this acting as support to move up? As I said on Tuesday, for trading this pair at the moment, which is rather range bound, potentially it's still in an uptrend. Now that is a higher top, false break in this area to a higher bottom, just holding above here. So, you know, the buying level is 157.99 for potentially a move back up to 159.32. You know, last week though, we had a very negative rejection candle. So that's why I'm looking potentially up at these weekly high points, because last two candles up at this very high level have been rejecting, and it's rather range bound. I'd be much prefer to be trading in line with these rejections, to be perfectly honest. But that day chart structure is still holding to an uptrend. So my preferred option would be just to simply look to the top of the range. I discussed this range yesterday when we reviewed last month's trading. Up here would be my ideal trading area. All right, for a sell up there, forming some form of maybe left shoulder head, right shoulder up there, if the market can offer that. Euro pound, very range bound at the moment. It is holding to the upside from what is monthly and weekly support down here. 85.47 monthly, 85.65 weekly. As I said the other day, it's not the best pair in the world, and it's not the best pair in the world at the moment for sure. The actual higher time frame trend, like the monthly chart here, potentially is down, potentially forming a lower top just here. We have moved to a lower bottom, and the weekly trend is lower top, lower bottom. So, and it's trying to go up at the moment against those two trends, just bouncing on the support area here. So in my mind, you know, that weekly trend is here, lower top, lower bottom. Be much prefer to just monitor for price to come up into the high area of that weekly range up here. And then what happens? All right. Up at 86.58 up here has been clear resistance over the last month. In fact, 2 months, because this was late June. All right. So up here is where the sellers are quite clearly pinning this pair. So that would be the area to watch for a reversal back down. Difficult to be selling so close to support. All right, let's get into the pound dollar. It's been selling off today. So I was back down to weekly chart here. Hang on a minute. Can't see with that fib on. So weekly chart is coming down to this area, which is actually a monthly top here that we've moved through this year. All right. Now, on the monthly chart, the trend is still up, so we're having some kind of corrective phase within this upward range. All right. And we're coming down to just short of, at the moment, this area of support, 124.48. You don't want to be selling into that area because I'm sure we'll see a little bit of support coming in there in the short term. And it will probably We're already seeing a little bit of buying pressure on the day. So with that in mind, we may, to get short, this would be a very good area to watch to be resistance now for a move down to, yes, that monthly support level. All right, so it's a bit of a patience game, waiting to see if we can get a rally back up to that level. I'm going to do the same thing as I did in the euro. So I just want to monitor the range we've been forming this week. That is actually the high of this week to there, to the 4-hour chart. Now, there's definitely a couple of imbalances that may want to get filled within the range of this week. That's the high of the week. That's the current low. I'll just keep dragging it down and keep moving down. There's another imbalance in here. So looking obviously to sell some form of rally. I don't want to be selling at the bottom and nowhere near close to 124.48. At the moment, there is the other side of the coin that if we hit 124.48 maybe today, we could reverse back up. And you could be looking for, a tight entry to try and buy and reverse back up the range. But at the moment, we haven't hit that level yet. So I would still be waiting to see if we can retrace just simply back inside the range of this week. Coming up to fill that imbalance, that would get you to 125.44, broken support being resistance, or the higher level up here, 126.02 to 126.20. All right, so one of two levels. I prefer the higher level, but we may just come up to fill that little imbalance in here and then simply want to continue down. So two levels to watch. Again, I'm not interested in selling at the bottom of moves. I want to look for a rally. Now, if we stab down into 124.48, just depends what happens over the next couple of trading days. If we stab down in there and we see a clear candlestick pattern down at 124.48, you might then be looking for a reversal back to the long side. All right, but we'll have to wait and see what price action does. We haven't traded down there yet. And if we keep seeing US dollar strength continually day by day, then really you're fighting against the US dollar. So, you're going to need to see a clear reversal down there if you want to get to the long side. All right, that's my thoughts on the pound. Pound yen. This is the range that we're in. At the moment, this line is weekly support. If I go to the day chart, it's this top over here. So we're rather consolidatory in this area. We have a higher bottom, lower top. There's a broader range that we're trading within, which I've highlighted there the other day on Tuesday. So, it is today. It's trading down. It's already trading back above weekly support. So there's a possibility here you're looking for a reversal here back up the range. All right. So monitor 184. There's this 15-minute trend, which is still down, turn to an uptrend. All right, monitoring 184. That could be where we hold for then a move back up the range. All right. It would be nice if it came down to the bottom of the range that I've marked out down here. But, we have a higher bottom here, a lower top there. It's actually forming some kind of triangular pattern of sorts. All right, and you can see there it's gotten down to the lower level of the kind of triangle pattern. So we may be getting support along that line to move back up to test this level at the other side. All right. All right. Head over to Aussie yen, which isn't doing much at the moment. Nothing's much changed from last month. I'm going to go to the day charts. This is the top of the range up here. All right, 94.93, 94.85. Support's coming from over here, weekly high over here, 83.03. Down to 82. Sorry, down to 92. So 93.03 down to 92.89. Okay, and it's range bound. You want to be trading at the outskirts. All right. Draw my fib in across that range, or let's use that as the range. I was discussing the ranges that were yesterday for last month. So at the moment, top of the range is up here. And the bottom of the range is down here. So I would just watch, and we're kind of in the middle almost. I'd be watching you sell at the top, buy at the bottom. In the middle, I'll just be leaving it alone. You see what it's been doing over the last 2 days, next to nothing. Because the Aussie dollar is declining, dollar yen's moving up, and so the Aussie yen can't go anywhere. All right, so just be patient, look for the outskirts. Aussie dollar. In the short term here, we could be putting in some form of short-term bottom. I can clearly see on the day chart here that there's an imbalance on that candle. We'll be able to find it on a lower time frame too. It's clearly dropped and we haven't traded back inside that range. It's from that inside day that same thing happened on the euro dollar and the pound dollar. We had an inside day and then dropped the next day. So we are looking like we're getting some support down here in the short term. Intraday, as we'll see, that the 64 level is offering some kind of resistance at the moment, but we may move above that level back up to the broken support level. So this broken support level is monthly support that got broken at 64.58. You can see it's rather range bound. I'll just quickly draw in a couple of lines here. The range is a couple of areas. See that between those two lines, or it's between these two lines, depending on how the market wants to play at any given time. So let's just move to the 4-hour chart. High of the week is here. So I'll be monitoring the range of the week at the moment. We have an imbalance in here. Imbalance on the 4-hour chart started here. Came down to there. It's been filled at the moment to about there. So the top of the imbalance at 79% level. It's also at the monthly broken support level at 64.58. So that would be a perfect area to watch for your rally. All right. If we can get up there, that would be the perfect scenario to come back up to there and then turn over. Now, if you've been monitoring the intraday perspective on the 15-minute, what you'll be seeing yesterday, we'll squash this in a little bit. That's the imbalance on the 4-hour chart. There's a little bit more of imbalance in here that's been formed on the 15-minute chart. So let's just move that. That's the 4-hour area that we've not filled yet. And this is the 15-minute area that hasn't been filled. All right, so we may only come up and fill the 15-minute area, although there's a bit more of an area up here as well within that 4-hour area. All right, but at the moment, over the last, once we dropped over here below 6,400, creating these long candles down, creating that imbalance. Yesterday, we could only come up and get held at last week's low and the 6,400 level. All right. So now the intraday area of resistance is here. So if we can get back up to that level today, even if we trade into this area, all right, we might just have a day up. We could then false break. So you might see price action come up. All right, false break. And then start to want to trade back down. So if you start to see that happening, starting to want to trade once more back below 64. So the US news later in the day could see this spike up and then just has a day up, turns over, and then we're trading back down. All right, so can certainly watch 64, this 64 to 6405 kind of area. What happens there if we can get back up to that area today when the news comes out. All right. New Zealand yen, very range bound, like the Aussie yen. Let's just refocus on the range. This weekly top over here, this is a day chart, this is a weekly top here. Go to the weekly chart, you can pick it up right there. We've been rejecting that area, becoming more and more the level to watch. I mean, we do have a higher bottom, higher top, higher bottom, but it's really not doing anything. So for me, I'm still going to use the same areas I've been discussing. 87.30 is resistance. 86.13 is support. And get it to draw a straight line. And I'll just be watching those boundaries. Look to trade at support or resistance for our chart. There's the range. All right, as I was showing you yesterday about trading range, I'll draw a fib across that range like so. I use the 127R above and the 127 below for my stop levels, and looking to sell at resistance, buy at support, and look to keep trading the range until it breaks out. Pretty much in the middle of that range at the moment. If I just drag that over, you can see the 50% levels here of that range. It's doing nothing at the moment. You want to wait till it gets to the outskirts, like I was saying on the Aussie yen. New Zealand dollar. Last 3 days, we've been moving to a new low. Really Tuesday moved to a new low, but we just dropped to the weekly. This double top, triple top area up here, my forecast target is down here at 55.85. That's just height of the pattern projected below for that double, triple top. Now, whether or not we can get down there, we'll have to wait and see. But last week, we just had a weak ab. Now we've taken out last month's low and the last 2 weeks' lows. That's forming potentially here a lower top at broken monthly support here at 59.86, sorry, 59.85. And I anticipate we're just going to be, if this is a lower top, we're just going to have more weeks down. All right. And the same deal, we had a bit of an imbalance happening there on Tuesday, so we could come up to, support at the moment is more here, or even more down to there potentially, but, and I could just see what's over here. $58.40 is the next level that we created from back in time, and there's some more recent ones just here, but just want to know what the next historical level is rather than the most recent ones. All right, so I would be looking at certainly monitoring this week's range, if not this range. So either that range is the range to monitor, or often when we're having weeks down, we just trade back inside the previous week. So this week's range that are forming at the moment is here. So I'd probably monitor that range that we can see on the 4-hour chart. There it is. And look again for price to come back up and fill some of this imbalance in here. This is an area of support here, then we just broke below. So anticipate we're going to come back to that area there and then do a continued down. That was the imbalance, but we filled some of it. All right, so there's the imbalance over there. Now again, a bit like the Aussie, could only just get above the figure 5,900. So highly correlated together, these two pairs at the moment. So we may just come up to 59. We may manage to have a day up. So, you know, this area here is the area to watch for failure today. The high of yesterday in 5,900. All right. As well, because I think we didn't quite went a fresh low, but you could also monitor the range 79% level, but I'd be much more happier looking up here than that level. So I might just stay with the area that I've marked out. All right, dollar Canadian. I did put this out on Twitter today. So if you follow me on Twitter, you would have seen. But I did say on Tuesday that on the weekly charts, there's a double top area here. Were we going to come up and test that level? Were we going to fail there? From the monthly perspective, it's a lower top, lower bottom. Or coming into weekly highs to the left. Are we going to be putting in a lower top in this area based on the monthly range, monthly chart, lower top forming there? We could come up to this area 13705, but at the moment, so that's this area over here. But at the moment, this weekly top, you can see the last 2 trading days, very shadowy or wicky up there. Today, all we've been able to do is just touch the resistance level. So we could be forming some form of double top here to trade down. All right. Really the last, I'm just going to change my lines here a little bit. Really now the last line of support is here where we false broke last week. Is a better area of support now. 35.10 is the level. You know, if we fail up there, we could be moving down to 35.10 in the short term. And then, you know, if we can trade down, we might see a lower top form in the day chart. So if you want to be aggressive, just based on the day chart, your entry would be a break of that rejection candle. Stop above that high. And we can just, I'm just going to change this fib so I can just draw it across the double top area here. And just talking about how I trade double tops, that would be one way, trading the break of the candlestick low, as I've just shown you. I like to be in by the 79% level for the long-term move. So they've got plenty of room to do that at the moment if we are holding here. On the 4-hour chart, it isn't really telling you there's a change yet. What would be nice to see is some form of structure change. So we actually get, you know, a breakdown of support. I've got my wrong drawing tool. So we get some kind of structure break and like a 79% retracement back up to here. And then you're looking to sell there, stop above there, selling there for your decline. So price action to form that at the moment would be great. It's not changing the 4-hour trend at the moment. So, you know, we could just break up and through. And breaking that swing point low there, all right, is quite simply the break of that red candle low there. All right, so sometimes just looking from a day chart perspective, it's quite clear what's going on. Break of that low would start to potentially confirm the reversal. You know, we might get something like this. You get the break of a low, come down, and then we rally back up. And that will be the 4-hour rally that I was just showing you happening here. Now on the 15-minute chart, if you want to monitor the range of yesterday where it's rather choppy, you see it swinging up and swinging down and swinging back up. This range here, the range of yesterday. All right. We've already rallied up to the 62% level of the range, which overlaps with that resistance level. So it's clearly there at the moment, is being watched by the sellers. All right. The news could drive it through that level up to the 79% fib of the rejection candle, which is up here, 136.64. All right. So any one of those two levels, what first level has already been tested? and it held. Could still get tested once more and hold, or that 79% level. You see, some intraday highs here that formed yesterday. So that would be a good level to watch at 136.64 if we can get up there too. If you want to be more aggressive, or you're just waiting for the break of the candlestick low yesterday, that would be a confirmation. All right. So question is there, are we forming some form of double top on the dollar CAD? Dollar franc. Now, trend perspective, if we start from the monthly chart, is the monthly trend is down, but we're rallying, and a weekly trend, there is a minor high bottom here, so maybe that is changing. We're trading straight into, at the moment, weekly resistance over here at 89.26. So it's just not a great area to be a buyer in. I mean, we could be moving up, long term. There's a very nasty imbalance over here that could get filled over many, many months. But at the moment, just where it is, it's not the most perfect area to trade. All it's really doing from a technical perspective is filling this imbalance, this drop. So we could actually stop here and turn around for sure. So depending on your viewpoint for the dollar franc, but the 62% level of that range, I don't know if I quite got that drawn in perfect. 62% retracement of that range, filling the imbalance. If we start to move back below this area, 89.01, we start to trade below 8900, and then we can't really get back above 8900. So if we just look at that on the 15-minute chart, that's the area where we move through this week. If we convincingly close back below there, I think you're then watching 8900 for opportunities to short. But at the moment, trying to get long at the moment on this pair in such a strong resistance area is very difficult. So is it the area where we're going to start to see a reversal or not? All right, dollar yen, I actually missed this the night, so I will make sure we go through it. We're actually testing at the moment a historical monthly line of resistance. Squash your monthly chart in, we're right at this level here. So we are very at nosebleed territory. Okay, 147.68. Trend is up on the monthly chart here, but we're at nosebleed territory, okay? Historical highs often, well, we obviously failed last year at this area. Of course, we went above, but then we failed. This time we're pretty much at that level. Are we going to hold here? All right. Moving above a couple of areas of resistance. Next level above there is a weekly level from back in time. That 146.83 level. And we've been moving above this daily chart level, which is a bit old now. So really the levels to watch. This is a weekly high. Last week we came down, got support there. So this is the support level that's holding support, because those two previous weeks, the lows were coming in just underneath, moving back above. All right. This is certainly intervention level from the Bank of Japan area as well. So it's very, it's very, how do you buy up here? You're at major monthly resistance. It's where the last time the Bodge intervened. It's a great area to take profits and probably sit on the sidelines and wait to see if we get an intervention and a reversal. All right, the day chart's not showing you any kind of real strong reversal here at the moment. It's just, I think it's just a question of monitoring. All right. Just monitoring. I'd just be monitoring that day chart at the moment to see whether or not it offers a clear signal to go short. All right, I wouldn't be buying at such high levels at such a historical monthly level at 147.68. Very difficult to be a buyer in that area. If it comes back down to this weekly support once more, that's the area to, if you want to buy this pair, that's the area to watch. Does it once more come down here? Because clearly it did quite clearly offer support there last week. Last 2 weeks, it's been getting support there. All right. So that is the area to watch. Approximately 144.50 area. All right. Or that weekly high there at 145.06. You know, being a buyer anywhere higher up than that, I think is kind of suicidal at the moment. So I'll be watching that area there if you want to be a buyer. Other than that, I think it's just sitting on your hands waiting to see if we start to see a signal that the Bank of Japan's coming back in. All right. As well, you know, if we just drift back to the dollar index has been going up for 2, 4, 6, 7. This is the 8th week. It is due. Doesn't mean we're going to get a trend correction, but it's due a pullback. All right, because nothing continues up. Usually, you know, it comes up, it pulls back, comes up, it has a significant pullback. You know, you can see all the pullbacks here. Pullback, pullback. Had no pullback yet. All right, so I'm sure a pullback will be coming at some point. And if we get a pullback, that clearly would initiate then a pullback on the dollar yen. Okay. All right, let's get into gold. All right, today chart. Let's tidy off my little marks from the other night. So potentially we had a nice little rejection there at 62. I said Tuesday breaking the low of Friday there. So that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So yeah, it was Friday. Breaking Friday's low was a good trigger, or Tuesday breaking Monday's low was a good trigger because you got that rejection, outside reversal rejection candle to signify that we're holding at the 62 level. See the week before, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, holding at the 62. Just came up over there to fill the imbalance in here. So tag the imbalance that's there. And then we've moved back down to what is a historical high over here from the weekly chart, 1960. But what looks like's happening here is we're forming maybe another lower top here. Lower top, just a lower bottom. Are we forming another lower top there at the 62 level for a continued move down? All right, now the day chart is actually in an uptrend here. There's a minor bottom here. So until we really break this minor bottom, we could get support here to at least come back up. So I'd be monitoring, if we have failed at 62, then on the 4 hour, I'd monitor this range that this sell-off range that we've just formed. Clearly here's support from over here as well. So we're probably going to get some kind of bounce. Is look to this area. All right. I can quite clearly see as well from a 4 hour chart perspective, there's this area here, broken support area. All right. So 62 is at 1938, 1944 is a 79% level. That would be the area to watch. All right, I don't like that line, it's not straight. So can we come up to that area to then see the market hold and turn around? All right, I think this top up here potentially is going to form a lower top on the weekly chart. Or any questions? Everybody's quiet tonight. So we do have the US dollar news. If you're coming in a little bit late, we do have the US dollar news. 10:30 p.m. unemployment claims. And that definitely has the opportunity. Now, don't forget on Friday just gone, if we go back to the previous week, unemployment figures in the US upticked from 3.5 to 3.8. All right, so that would then mean potentially that the figure coming out for unemployment claims is going to go up. All right, so at the moment, it's suggesting that unemployment claims this week will be slightly higher than previous, but if this comes in at a much higher level than expected, we might see a bit of a bounce on these pairs to the US dollar, because that's just obviously showing that data coming in that more people are claiming, unemployment's going up. And I don't know, I'm no fundamentalist, so I don't know whether this leads or lags the unemployment data from Friday. This may lead, because this almost comes out every week. So this is probably more up to date than Friday's data. So if this comes up at a much higher number than expected, the market may be anticipating the interest. So that job figures are going to rise once more next month. All right. So watch out for the unemployment claims tonight at 10:30. So I might just hang around for a few minutes. Warren, you want me to look at the franc yen, so we'll do that. All right, I don't have any more data than what I've got here, so I don't know where we are in terms of the all-time high. But that's the monthly, which is clearly in an uptrend. Overextended, but in an uptrend. Weekly is a bit overextended too. But in a clear uptrend. Or on a day chart here, it's rather consolidatory. Support is coming in really here. Wow. And more recently, support's coming in here. So probably go that line. And then resistance up here, I could use that level. All right, so clearly the weekly trend's up and the day trend's up. That weekly here could need a pullback, and if it does pull back, I'd be monitoring that range from a fib tool perspective. 62 level overlaps with 61.58. That area of old resistance becoming support potentially. We did have a week down last week, so we could, be having a bit more of a further decline. That day chart at the moment, very, very sideways. I mean, opportunities to trade. I mean, it is sideways, but it is a lower bottom. And I'm sure that's come up to a 79% level for a potential lower top. So it is just a little bit suggestive that it wants to have another week down, which will, just drop to the 4-hour chart. That's that range. So everything's a little bit suggestive that we're having some form of correction. That's that weekly range, I think, that I was just drawing the fib across before. That's the 62 level with that level of support. So we could be, failing, trading down, rallying, and then coming down this way towards that 62% level and the support. That could well be how that is mapping out at the moment, with that lower top potentially forming there in the day chart. All right. That's the kind of way it looks like it's mapping out. Well, how are you looking at it, Warren? But depending on at the moment, in terms of the range, it's kind of sitting in the middle of the range here. So if you're looking for an opportunity short, I mean, price might come back up to the top of the range. That would be a definite area to watch up there at 166.41 for a short at the top of the range, but it may have already failed up at the 79% level. All right, so that's my thoughts on the franc yen. And of course, if the dollar yen starts to hold at its major historical high point, that will certainly help this move down. So you're thinking that the franc is strong now, so you think the franc yen is going to move up? I just think, you know, long term, it's very strong on the monthly, weekly, but that weekly chart here is a little bit suggestive that, you know, it's had an upward move here and maybe wants to have a pullback. That, you know, that if it pulls back to this area here, that doesn't change the weekly trend, it's just a correction. So, and that day chart is a little bit suggestive of a lower bottom, lower top to put in that correction. It would now obviously need to have a very good break below 164.42. So if you're looking to the upside, 164.42 is your support area at the moment. So, you know, it is rather range bound. So trading the range, you know, the support area is here if you're looking to be a buyer at the moment. All right, I'll leave you with that to think about. Thanks, Warren. All right, everybody, if you've got a final question, just type it in. Other than that, just to give you a heads up, next week, next webinar from me will be on September the 12th. All right, more analysis next Tuesday, okay? Then I've got a webinar, position trading using the monthly and weekly trading ranges on 13th and 14th, more analysis. All right, so if you have the time and want to join me next week, just come over to the webinar page and register your interest. Other than that, thanks everybody. Have a great weekend. It's getting a little bit warmer where I am on the Gold Coast. It's almost beach weather, almost. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. Look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, everybody.